I think success is just it's more about how I feel than maybe what I have or what it looks to the outside world.
I have all of the checkbox items. How dare I want more, right? How dare I want to expand my career and grow? And so I really started to shrink myself in places and almost dim my light.
Do you feel like you're living well? And by that, I don't just mean stuff. I mean experiences. I mean, right? Like, what are you doing that fills your cup? Do you have enough of that going on outside of business?
I think there's a lot of people that have an unhealthy relationship with success because they haven't defined it. They don't truly understand what it means. Hi, and welcome to the Living Richly podcast. We're so glad that you've joined us here today. I know that oftentimes people talk about the fear of failure, but what if what's holding you back isn't failure, but the fear of success? I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation that we're going to have today. It was fueled by one of our listeners, Julia, who had shared that as a part of, in the Living Richly Facebook group, The Nation. And she mentioned something about having a topic around this. And we were like, none of us ever have had to worry about.
Well, we've never struggled with it, but we've done tons of homework and research and read books about other people's stories to be able to show up today and do something meaningful.
So let's blow that myth out of the water. And maybe why don't we start by just maybe sharing some personal experiences?
Oh, come on. Seriously? That's
we're
what we're going to start
for the first time ever on the podcast.
We're going to get vulnerable.
We're going to get vulnerable. And but let's talk about a little bit about what is maybe one experience you've had where success has kind of started to creep up and you're sensing it, and something happens to kind of pull you back from that. Maybe Kate, you could start.
Yeah, I more than once. So I've had multiple small businesses in my life. I love running my own business. But what I realized looking back is like the amount of times business is starting to get really successful, and then I bail before I fail. It is like this epic, like it's going. I'm like, oh, this looks really, I want to do this. And then I go over here, not thinking that I'm like, not consciously aware that I'm actually bailing, but in my head, it's somehow that I justify it over here. And in hindsight, the commitment to stick with, like, from a business perspective, to sit through the highs and lows is actually one of the hardest things. And success comes with those highs and lows. So I think for me, it's like the number of times, just as things are getting good, I bail because I'm so scared of, like, what if I succeed?
What if?
What a great soundbite. Bail before I fail.
Right?
Yeah.
A great new hashtag.
We're going to be encouraging it. No, wait. No, that's not what we're doing. We're trying to do the opposite, right? Sorry,
Bail before you fail.
I'm bailing now.
Bail.
Yeah, for me, it's less of a moment in time and more like a pattern. I think we really need to talk about these things together, because I think fear of failure, fear of success are just two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
There'll be many moments where I'm afraid to take a step because what if this doesn't work? We were just talking that it's been just over a year since we launched the
15-day life
vision. Mindful masculinity. Yes, and when we started those episodes on the show, and that was taking a risk at the time, and we launched the 15-day life vision challenge and put that out into the world. And since then, in the business, there's been so many things created and changed and morphed and the rest of it. I think the pattern for me is I'm less afraid of failure now. I'm still afraid of it, but I'm less afraid of it. When I guess the biggest thing I've had to overcome and still work on sometimes is more this notion of, do I believe I deserve it?
Yeah.
Do I believe I actually deserve success? So I'm not sure if that's fear or if it's more still a worthiness piece that I'm working on. I'm way further along down that road, like better than I was, even just 2-3 years ago. But it's still a fact.
It's a journey.
For sure.
Yeah. What about for you?
I think mine is more of kind of just a personal experience, and I would say it ties back to my first marriage, where I really felt myself starting to shrink and wanting to grow and expand in different places. But in my mind, a lot of it was like, but you have all of the checkbox items. Kate, you and I have talked about this a lot on Real Women, Real Talk. I have all of the checkbox items. how dare I want more, right? How dare I want to expand my career and grow? And so I really started to shrink myself in places and almost dim my light. And so because of that, I started sabotaging my own happiness because I was afraid of just that journey. But that turned out to be great because, yes, I had to walk through all of that stuff, as all of us have, but I came out on the other side stronger.
Amazing. You know, I think it's, in some cases, we don't understand really what success is or what it means.
Well, most of us have not even defined it for ourselves.
Exactly. And so just like with much of life, when we are not clear on something, there is a fear of what it looks like. When Julia first posted this in the Facebook group, the thought that came to mind right away was the person who wins the lottery. Right. And how the stats will tell us that most people who win a significant amount of money end up worse off than they were before because they don't understand how to they don't understand money. Money becomes almost leads them versus them control it just being a tool. They have an unhealthy relationship with money. That's what I was trying to say. And there's some reality to that, is that and success is that. I think there's a lot of people that have an unhealthy relationship with success because they haven't defined it. They don't truly understand what it means. When we think of success and we think of failure, and I agree with you, Eric, that they are two sides of the same coin. But they demand different things of us. So when we think of success, what does success demand of us that maybe failure doesn't?
Success says step into the damn light, right?
100%.
Whereas depending on how epic the failure is, if it's a very public failure, well, that can't
step into the light too.
Step into the light as well. But often in much of what we do, the failures that we experience or the letdowns or disappointments are private, right? They may not be as public as when we put ourselves out there. Success does expose you. It puts you in a space that requires more emotional capacity, more leadership capacity. Can you be counted on now to keep showing up now that this thing is working? And I've come to recognize that there was all kinds of times throughout my life where I self-sabotaged. It's almost like I was allergic to peace. I was allergic to things going well, and I got really good at like burning the whole fucking house down when I started to feel unconsciously or consciously feel like, if this actually works, what's that going to require of me? Thankfully, I've come a long way on that front too, but it's still this notion of, again, if I get there, if I get what I want, am I going to be able to hold in that position?
Yeah.
Do I have what it takes to stay the course once I get there?
Yeah, the success is visible. It's like people can see it, and I feel like we fail more in private. Like exactly what you just said. It's like the failure can be kind of hidden behind doors. But let's say you're doing something like the Living Richly podcast is doing, and it's really successful, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, it's successful. Like we have to maintain this. And what does that mean? And then it becomes something maybe bigger than it needs to be. Whereas if we just slowly stop the podcast, which we're not doing, so no need to panic. But if that was the case, you can just slowly taper off and into quietness, and that can happen privately.
Yeah. I think it also demands the ability for us to let go. So let go of other people's opinions, let go of the habits that we have. So Eric, like you were just mentioning, like one of your tendencies was, to back off, or I think that's what you said. So that habit can become very ingrained in us. So learning to let go, and just things that don't serve us any longer, that in order to be successful in whatever it is or want to launch to that next level, you've got to let go of the things that aren't serving you to then be able to move forward towards the things that are.
Yeah, we see it. I think we see it with business owners all the time. Why do a lot of people not ever want to step into entrepreneurship and ownership? There's a number of reasons. One of them is because if I'm successful as a business owner, or if I all of a sudden have this company where I've got employees and everything, now I'm responsible for them. I've got to take ownership I can't blame others for failure, right? I can't blame this. Wow, it was because of this or it was because of that. No, now it's all on you.
Yeah.
And there's a responsibility with success comes responsibility in our minds, most of us, that I now need to either continue to show up or I need to now deliver because others are counting on it. Even this podcast, as we got successful and as we started to see a lot of followers, there is a sense of, hey, we need to make sure that we show up with some energy. We can't just say, we don't feel like doing it this month. We'll just not put out an episode for a few months, right? You have that, the responsibility comes in. And for a lot of people, that's the fear is if I'm successful, what is that going to require of me at that point?
Absolutely. It's the famous line from Peter Parker in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, right? And you mentioned a book to me a long time ago about the top 1% and people learning, and I might get the concept wrong, but it was something about once you figure out what it actually takes to be like, everyone wants to be in the top, right? But once you do the math on what's actually required to be there and stay there, how many people go, no, I'm good being in the top 20 or in the top 10, because all of a sudden they go, yeah, success looks great, but I haven't counted the cost. I haven't weighed what is this going to require of me long term. So I think you mentioned fog earlier. Where there's fog, there's going to be fear. Where there's clarity, that's usually followed by confidence.
Yes.
We also think that success will change us, right? And so there's this notion of who do I have to become, or what is it going to require of me? How do I show up differently if success happens? How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Like for me, it'd be like, I think, and I want to chat through too, like a lot of this is super subconscious. Like I don't think we're consciously thinking of it.
No,
you know what I mean? So it is. So
right.
you really do need to put, when this question came out, I'm like, I don't know. Let me what is it? What is it really? And I think for me, truthfully, it's, will I be the same person? Will I stay grounded? Is this going to affect me? Am I going to show up differently with my kids? And am I going to show up differently at work? Am I going to show up differently as a boss? I think for me, it's like in my head somehow, there's like this fear that I'm going to lose who I am because this version to me feels different. And I don't know why. And I don't really consciously have an answer of what that is. But I know I worry that I won't feel as grounded as I do today. It's not rational.
No, and I love that you said that so much, because you're right. I had that same reaction at first. I was like, fear of success. Because I kind of, I don't know what I think of that. It is subconscious.
Yeah.
It is in many cases. And I think this is one of the biggest things, because when we look at successful people, and this is about defining success. When I use that phrase now, I'm thinking of like entertainers or the wealthy, the some of the billionaires that are in media. You look at them and you think, well, most of the time they show up as jerks. Right, they show up as entitled and all, and that I don't want to become that. And so we think that that's what's going to happen if we see success.
There's a big ego piece tied to it.
Yeah,
100%.
Well, I think let's just look at through the lens of imposter syndrome. Most of us have run into that from time to time. Not Wendy, but the rest of us have. She's like shaking her head. Like,
no, she saw it.
I'm sorry, imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. What is that?
What is?
I don't know.
I think part of it is this notion of, well, if I actually I already feel a lot of that in my day to day, where I'm like, if people only knew the real me, and all of a sudden, if I succeed, then there's going to be even more pressure on me to maybe be someone that I'm not. And I tie it back to, again, for me, it was this part about, do I deserve it? Right? There's this great formula that success is desire plus knowledge plus belief, right? So you have to want it, you have to figure out how to do it, so that's the knowledge piece, and then you have to believe. But belief is twofold. One, you have to believe you can, even with the self-doubt and all that. It's not this toxic positive thing. It's more like just like believe ultimately that I can get there and figure it out. But belief is twofold. The other side of that is believe I deserve it. Because if you've got desire plus knowledge, but you don't have the belief piece, you don't get success. All you end up with is frustration. Deep frustration. And again, for me, I think that was the element that was missing for so long, is this belief that I actually deserve to be happy and to feel good and all the things that for me are part of being successful.
Well, and that's mine ties into that as well, just because my thought around the belief of deserving it, because for me, there's always been that fear of being too much for people, and not from an ego. And like I talked to Sherry about this, although you and I have conversations around this, because I still struggle with, I never want to come across like I'm overly humble, where I never want to come across too much as being too bold, too confident, too much. Yeah. But then I'm trying to learn that, but I deserve this, and I've worked for this, and I'm entitled to this, but not in an entitlement type of way, right? And I used to hear comments, going back a decade when I left my HR career, moving into the fitness space, and who does she think she is, or even now, like, oh, she's so lucky, right? And I've said it before, like, fuck luck, like you know,
fuck luck. You heard it here.
Fuck luck, not fucking duck.
But yeah,
fuck luck.
it is. There is a fear about being too much for people, and the perception on how are people going to perceive me.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting, and of course, I think of Matthew's episode. I think it was the first time he was on the show, and it was I know for you, a boom, mind blowing was that notion of being too much and having to wrestle
Too
with
much and not enough.
too much and not enough, right? And it's always interesting because I chuckle. You're right. We've had many conversations, and you've struggled with that. You the two of you are so similar in your personalities in many ways. I chuckle about that. I've got a business partner and a wife. Kind of one and the same, and there is that challenge there of how we show up. I really believe that at our core, who we are when we're successful, it gives more permission for it to show up. I don't think we change. I don't think the average person doesn't. If you're a jerk, if you're a dick, if you're a jerk,
It just accentuates what's already there.
it just gives you more openness to do it. Right, exactly. If you're a humble person or a kind person, and I look at some of the people who have gained success, athletes, actors, business people, and all they're doing is just showing up more truly. Well, I don't know if they're showing truly who they are, or they're still playing whatever persona, but they are who you are internally just comes out more with success.
It's again, to borrow again from the world of superheroes.
It wouldn't be a podcast.
It wouldn't be a podcast if I didn't go there. But think of the super serum, right? To turn ordinary people into super soldiers.
Yes,
So
yes.
For Steve Rogers, Captain America, he's a good guy. He's a really good guy. So he gets pumped full of the serum, and he just becomes an even better guy, right? Same serum goes into other characters, and it just accentuated what was already there, their selfishness, their desire to control. And I think, again, we talk about success, the fear of success. I come back to most people don't know what that means for themselves. They have adopted society's version of what that means. So that's the big McMansion, it's the 3 cars in the driveway, it's the vacation home, someplace warm, and all those things are great. But that ultimately, I think a lot of folks that attain those things, they're following that formula that if I check these boxes, somehow I'll be good, I'll have achieved. And they get there only to go, is this it? Is there more? Talking to a millionaire, multimillionaire client of mine just the other day. And it's interesting how our conversations have shifted away from business every time we have our one-to-ones. And he's more at that stage of life going, what do I want to do with my time and energy? I've got all the things, but I'm feeling this stirring or this unease, this dis-ease within me that something's missing. And I said, well, let's talk about what success means for you. So I think the formula is wrong, and I think the definition is often inherited as opposed to created.
Okay, so I'm going to go off script here. So, okay, I know. And I'm going to ask you guys.
I don't know.
Get ready. Brace yourselves.
Ready?
He's going off script.
I'm going to ask you to think about and give me your definition of what success is. What is success for you? And not because we want those that are listening to adopt our definition of success, but it might give them a sense of, okay, how do they come up with and define their definition of success? I'm going to talk for a second or two just to give you a chance.
Are
I
you
know you're
stalling
ready
now?
to. I'm stalling
I know,
so you
I'll
can
go.
think. You guys are ready to go.
I can
Good.
go.
So, but let's do that because I do think it's important. If if what we're talking about is the fear of success, how do you overcome the fear of success? Well, first of all, define what success is.
Yeah.
So we've said that enough times, so let's define it. All right, you're ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Go, Kate.
Go.
So
Go, Kate.
I really thought about this. That's why, because I really thought about it when we were doing the episode. Because so when I hear success, I automatically think business. And what's really interesting is success is it shows up in all facets of your life. There's success as a parent, success as a daughter. Like success isn't always just business. And for me, that's where I associated it. And success over time, that definition has changed. So success used to be the house, the good job, the kids, everything's working well. It's like what on the outside, what success looks like.
It's the highlight reel.
It's the highlight reel. And now today, success for me isn't about the big paycheck and it's not about all that stuff on the exterior. It's success for me is like, Kate, are what you're doing, is it aligned with your values? How do you feel? Are you content? Are you happy? Is your cup full? Like now it's time.
How happy is Eric?
How happy is Eric? That comes to mind every single day. Is
It
Eric
does for
happy
me.
today?
It does for me as well.
But if it doesn't, I'm
Right.
just saying.
That's a whole other podcast.
But yeah,
It's a question we ask every morning when we wake up. Right?
How
Happy is Eric right now?
Thanks,
What
guys.
can I do?
It means so much to me.
We love you.
Thank you.
Yeah, but
Do we?
I will say it's value tied for me now. Like I think success is just about, it's more about how I feel than maybe what I have or what it looks to the outside world.
And when you said core values, that's exactly what I was thinking is how does it align to my core values? And at my stage in life right now, it's, I love being a busy, productive person, but I love adding value, but that isn't necessarily for business. So, seeing my parents aging right now, like, am I showing up as, the best I can to be helping them out with things, spending that time with them, am I, carving out time, important things for us? Am I taking care of myself? Am I, getting enough sleep? Like all of those little things where I can go to bed at night and not necessarily think, here's the 86 things I did wrong. Yeah. But here's how not that I ever.
I'm like, who is this person talking right now?
It's like she's talking about something completely out of
Hello, where's Wendy? But no, I think it absolutely ties back to core values.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's I framed it within the Living Richly model, right? For me, success means living well, loving well, being well, serving well. And that is a framework that I even shared with this client that I was just referring to say, what if you started to ask yourself some questions around those lines? Like in your life, do you feel like you're living well? And by that, I don't just mean stuff. I mean experiences. I mean, right? Like what are you doing that fills your cup? Do you have enough of that going on outside of business? Because let's face it, for a lot of us, I think success is tied to the business front more than it is to the personal front. And part of why I launched the Foundry, right, is to speak to men who have spent their entire life pretty much just investing in business, and maybe other parts of their lives have been neglected, and now they're feeling it and they're sensing this need to shift. Someone once defined it this way, and I borrowed that definition, made it part of my own. But it's also about doing more of the things that I love with the people that matter most to me.
Like well said. Like us.
Exactly. Right? Yes, is part of that, right? But I think getting clear is so important on that.
And what's so freeing about, in all these cases, these definitions and shifting away from it being about chasing money, right? Whether you have 10 million in your bank account or you're in debt, you can live well.
You can. Now, I will say, listen, for me, like part of success is financial independence, is being in a place financially. Because let's face it, if doing more of the things I love with the people that matter most is part of my definition of success, guess what makes that possible?
Yes.
Vision is spelled MONEY, right? Without money, without resources, you will be limited. Can you be happy without it? 100%.
Yeah.
However, life's harder. So for me, success, certainly there's an aspect of that, but it's not about chasing the money. It's about empowering the purpose or empowering the vision.
And I was going there before you jumped in.
Well, I got really passionate about it. Because I'm gonna wait more.
No, well, because you're absolutely right. I'm not suggesting that. I think that the kind of the debt mindset or the poverty mindset, we come out of a world where that was the case, right? Where it was like you shouldn't, the love of money, is the whatever it is, the root of all evil. Wow, we've been out of that world too long.
Oh, apparently you have.
Well, you didn't jump in there.
Nope, I was letting you hang yourself.
Because I think you're absolutely right. There's nothing wrong with desiring to be financially free. When we chase it thinking that's what's going to give us the satisfaction or the sense of fulfillment, you're going to be really disappointed when you have that 10 million in your bank account.
Yeah, whether it's money or you're chasing it in relationships
Yeah.
or you're chasing it in the things that you do. Listen, one of the places we hide the most is in service, right? Because we feel useful, but we're chasing some sense of fulfillment. So that's got to come from within. That's a whole other subject matter. But here's an interesting thing I want to introduce. There's an old story in an old Jewish book. The Good Book, a story of a young man by the name of Joseph. Make the story short, he was favored by his father. He had 11 other brothers that were really jealous of him. But and the reason they were jealous of him is because on one occasion, their father, Jacob, gave Joseph this coat of many colors. There's a Broadway production, right, that's based on this story, right? So it's a really old story, but the coat was very luxurious for back then and made his brothers jealous. But the thing that they talk about is the coat was too big for him. The cloak was too big for him. And it was interesting. There's a parallel there that oftentimes Joseph actually would have to grow up and develop and mature in order to actually own wearing that cloak. Does that make sense? Like he would have to become bigger. He'd have to grow. He'd have to evolve to wear it proudly. And in the same way, I think fear of success is we sense a calling or to do something that's beyond our current level, and we feel like it's too big. And am I going to be able to wear that cloak? Am I going to be able to carry that persona and be that person who maintains?
So when you get there, when you have that success is on the horizon, the coat feels a little too big, you're a little scared, you're not sure around success, what's your go-to move?
How do you bail before you fail?
I literally bail before. I Homer Simpson back through the head. Like I do. I shrink.
You what?
I Homer Simpson back through the head.
I love that. I love using that as a verb.
Oh my God.
I Homer Simpson.
Homer Simpson.
Back through the shrug. He comes back in. It's
That's
like
the fucking funniest thing.
one of my favorite memes of all time.
I gotta do a Homer.
Oh yeah.
That's what I do.
Homer.
Well, that's what he does. He goes back into the. It's one of my favorite memes. Anyway, that's what I do. Now you all have a visual.
I have a visual.
Like you're
100%.
never
I want
ever
a video
gonna
one
look
day.
at it.
Of you being like, hey,
I'm Homer Simpson. What's happening?
Next time Wendy's coaching a class, somebody's gonna want to, slow down the treadmill. She's like, "Don't you dare
you're
Homer Simpson into the bush."
It's true though. So that's my go-to. Now you have a visual to associate, but I'll shrink. So I'll do the thing like this isn't really working, and so because I don't want to deal with disappointment. So it's almost like I'm getting ready for something that hasn't happened.
It's like you're talking yourself
I'm already
out of greatness.
Yeah,
at times.
because it's almost like I don't want to feel the disappointment if it comes, and it's not. It's weird for me. It's not even about the success. It's more about the disappointment, and then I'll pull away and I'll shrink down and I'll make it lesser than it is.
well, while you're doing your Homer Simpson,
you did that really well.
You can find me sitting on a couch with my own cheese charcuterie board. Drinking a lot of Coke Zero, avoiding everything that I should be thinking about.
Cheese therapy.
Cheese therapy. And I become really fascinated with, hey, maybe I'll organize the Tupperware drawer.
Yeah.
Maybe Rob's socks need ironing. And I'll think about...
Rob's socks?
She's never ironed one of my coats.
I bet you
my
have.
point is...
I bet you she has, and you don't even know.
That's a go-to move.
That's a go-to move right there.
But my point is, that's my way of coping because I don't want to have to deal with the feelings of
oh my god.
You watch what's going to happen though, because you often on your socials will post that cheese board, and now every time you post a cheese board, people are going to send you a message. Are you okay?
Oh my God, what's wrong?
You can do it, baby.
Oh no.
You're going to be
fine.
okay.
You're going to be fine.
You're going to be fine. Step away from the cheese platter. Right?
What about you?
Oh, I can so relate to that. I think one of my
Cheese?
The cheese, not the cheese. The busyness.
Coke?
Just the busyness factor you talked about.
Yeah.
Distracting
Distraction.
yourself.
Yes.
It's like it's a go-to move for me whenever I'm feeling anxious. I've talked about it on the show, recovering overperformer, and it serves me really well in a bunch of areas of my life. But again, when anxiety is the energy that's driving it, I start tinkering with stuff that doesn't need to be fixed. I start overthinking. It's like, oh, everything's going well. Better light a match, like blow shit up. Like I get my calendar blows up. I fill my time with all kinds of things. And part of it is, Rob, I mean, we work together. I am a creator. I create. I love to create tools, resources, things for people. Even the show is an expression of that. But I can get into this hyper busy mode of trying to I'm just not dealing.
Yeah.
If I keep running, maybe I don't have to look under the hood and see what's going on.
Do you iron your socks?
No, Rob does that for
me. You bet I do.
Oh no! I'm about to Homer Simpson off the show.
Yeah, so are all the.
Where's the hedge?
So are all the listeners are doing the same thing. So we often talk scripts. We often we recognize that. We even started the show. Kate, you mentioned about how so much of this is kind of unconscious or subconscious level. Is there a story or a script that you tell yourself right before you move to your go-to move? Right before you grab
you do the
cheese,
Homer?
before you grab the cheese or do the Homer? Is there actual story or script you tell yourself?
Oh my God, yeah. Mine is like you're eventually going to let everyone down anyways. And it's a pretty powerful negative script, which is like, you're going to fuck it up. So you might as well just get ahead of the fuck up. Like that is literally the script that goes on in my head. And because it's such a powerful script, pulling a Homer is really easy. You just because at that point I'm like, oh, well then I don't have to push through being uncomfortable with it. I'm like, I'm going to get ahead of it and I'm not even going to give it a chance to exist.
Yeah, I think mine's very similar. Yeah. It's like I'm likely now. This was a lot stronger before. It's less so now. I've talked about on previous episodes that the fall of last year into this winter was like a period of like my third great awakening in terms of being on purpose, being on point, really figuring out what this next chapter of my life looks like, and that's involved taking a lot of risks and putting myself out there and pushing myself way out of my comfort zone. Sometimes a bit too much, but that's kind of my the way that I roll, and I'm getting more present to that. But certainly before would have been, well, you're probably going to mess this up, so why don't you just bail till you fail, bail before you fail on your own terms.
Right.
The one that was even more brutal was more like they're cheering for you now, but wait till they see like who you really are. Now that was a really dark time in my life when that voice was so strong.
It's a real one though, right?
It's
a
very
lot of
real.
people, they think that way. That goes back to even the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Thankfully, that voice now I recognize. It's like an old voice wearing a familiar face, but that when it tries to whisper that to me, it doesn't land like it used to. I have my moments, but for the most part, I'm grateful for the tools I have now, for the work that I've done, that doesn't have the hold that it used to have.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome is like just hearing you talk, and then you mentioned that's exactly what it is for me, because imposter syndrome whispers and still does that I'm not educated or smart enough to run my own coaching business, but also run 3 brick and mortar fitness studios in the city, especially around like the finance. I'm not good with numbers. I hate numbers. It gives me a rash. I'm good at like the speaking, the being present, like I'll get my hands dirty with everything else, but that kind of stuff makes me feel like, why are you can't do this. Like you are so in over your head. And then I get really weird with minimizing the amount of work I've put in, the growth that I've experienced, even the accolades and the messages I get. He says all the time, like listen to the messages that people send you. And I get them and I'm just like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's the weirdest feeling where I'm reading them and I appreciate them, but I'm almost like, oh, but I don't deserve that. And I didn't really do that much.
It's your and I've been there so many times.
Yeah, but yet I tell my kids the opposite thing. You can do it. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you're like, and yet your voice internally
You're
is
born to shine.
like,
And yet, meanwhile,
we ignore the evidence. Like the world is giving us evidence of our greatness, of our ability to shine, our ability to be great beyond measure. And yet we're choosing in those moments to ignore the evidence. We discount it by saying, oh, but they don't really know me. Oh, if they only knew my inner struggles, like all that bullshit that we tell ourselves.
Yeah. My favorite thing is when somebody sends me a message that says, because of you, I couldn't do this, whatever. Because of you, I was able to do this. And I always default to, yes, but there's always a but, right? Like, I may have given you the roadmap, but you chose to drive your own bus, right? Like I almost deflect where I'm putting it back onto them.
And it's not an either or. And there is truth. Yes, they still did the work, and you influenced and impacted them doing that work, right? And being able to appreciate that they recognize the role that you played. One of the things that...
Mr. Host, I'm curious, before we move on to anything else, what's the script you tell yourself?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very similar to the, I'm just going to, you guys have really said it, right? It's the I'm going to fuck this up anyway.
Yeah.
And I think just as equally is if they really saw me, if they really knew who I was, like this is, and oftentimes she'll do this with me, you're so good at this, you're so good at that. And I quickly will just, no, or whatever. And I dismiss it because I don't feel like that's the case. So I think that the insecurity comes out like loud and proud in those moments. It's the opposite of the Homer. It just shows up and starts blaring and blasting in those moments when you start to see
like overcompensating. Is
absolutely,
that,
absolutely.
Isn't it fascinating that we're all telling the same story in a different context, and what keeps people trapped in that mindset is shame.
Yes.
If
100%.
people only knew, right? That's shame talking.
Yeah.
And yet the reality is all of us struggle with this at some level during certain seasons of our lives. If not, kind of it's a constant companion that is part of putting yourself out there, pursuing your dreams, pushing yourself outside of the comfort zone. I think that's why a lot of people don't wake up. I think that's why a lot of people do numb and run and distract and do all these things, because to slow down and look under the hood and start asking those deeper questions and getting clear about who you are and what you stand for, which we're big champions on the show. It's all your fear, every insecurity is going to come to the surface. But the reality is you're dealing with that fear and that insecurity now. Without the hope of creating a better life for yourself. So choose your hard, right? The current way you're living is hard. You're probably feeling unfulfilled and feeling like your life doesn't really not adding up. You're not on point. You're just trying to figure shit out. Or embrace the hard of, okay, I'm going to have to do some work and face some demons and, right, like challenge some old scripts. But that path has hope of a better future, carving a better future.
Right. But I think it's so important for listeners. I know, even when we started this podcast, I never wanted people to think like we all had it figured out, right? Like I just think
don't?
What? But we do.
What?
I'm confused.
This side of the table,
Folks, you heard it. What?
You fuckers.
this side of the table is fucked up.
And this side of the table is more fucked.
Right.
Now it's a competition.
Yeah.
Get me my cheese tonight. No.
We have a platter upstairs
We have a
right
platter
now.
upstairs. But I think it's so refreshing for people. I'm sure there's people listening to it now thinking, thank fuck I'm not the only one that feels like this. And these people, people look at us as, oh, they're professionals. They know what they're Listen, before those cameras start rolling, we don't have a fucking clue. No, we do. But it makes people feel... It makes people feel like they are not alone, right? When we still share openly.
Yeah.
Whatever. Move on.
Oh, 100%.
No,
again, when you go first, you give people permission to do the same,
exactly.
right? And that's been the heart of this show. It's not the four of us coming on here we're just sharing our experiences, what we've learned along the way. Totally. We learned so much from our guests, like 2 shows back with Matthew and Gundel, and Matthew Ripa-Young was back, and he fucking blew my mind. He dropped a truth bomb in there, and I'm like, whoa, and it's going to take me time. It's still unpacking that one. We learn as much from our guests as we share, but it's creating just that safe space for people to stop pretending and start showing up as they are, and owning where their life is going, right? Stop coasting, start choosing, stop drifting, start deciding, stop waiting, start creating. That's what
I want us to get into some practical suggestions or steps that we can provide people just from our experience. But before we do that, I want to ask, I'm going off script again with another question.
I know.
And I'm just recognizing this. We've got about probably another 8 minutes or so, and
it's very specific.
I like where we're flowing with this even more than what we it's for those of you listening. We prepare obviously for every episode. We put some show notes in, but the conversation where I want to go with it is maybe shifting away from what's in our notes. What role does social media play in all of this? We talk often about the social media being that brain drain. We look at it, that's the numbing for a lot of people. We know fear of failure, whether it's fear of failure or fear of success. What have you seen, or what from your experiences, the role that social media plays in keeping people afraid of whether it's success or failure?
Yeah, it's a comparison game. It's nonstop. I was driving with my daughter the other day going to an appointment, and she literally is like, we were just talking about pressures and teenagers, and she's like, you have no idea the pressure that's on me. So that's her lens just from a social media. And I'm like
14 years of age.
I'm like, so walk me through that. Is it like how you look? Is it? And she's like, it's everything. It's not just like pressure of, how they look. It's like getting good grades. It's like, it's everything now. And I'm like, I'm looking at her just wanting to fix it because she's my daughter. Yes. But I'm like, I feel that pressure. I feel similar pressure. I feel it on from a success, because what does social media highlight? Success. It highlights all the good. Yeah. I think we're starting to open up a little bit about things that aren't going so well. It's starting to shift a little bit where it's not just the highlight reel all the time. But I think as much as that intellectually, that people are only showing their successes, even though you still compete with it. And it's
wow.
So to me, I'm like, I know that's not all your life is, and I know that's not all real. But I'm still going to compete with it. And that's not rational. I think there's so much pressure when all you see are those golden moments.
100%. So it's highlight reels without enough behind the scenes footage.
100%.
Right? We're not seeing reality for one. Two, everything that's viral is what now determines what success looks like.
Yeah.
So 1 month it might be the gap between your thighs, and it has to be a certain right. And if it's not, then you're off. And this is as true for men as it is for women. The pressure of what does it look like to be popular and viral and all that stuff. It changes so fast that, again, for someone who doesn't have a strong sense of self, hasn't really self-authored their life by taking control of the pen and begin to define for themselves. And that's an ongoing process. Over a year ago, when we launched the Mindful Masculinity episodes on this podcast to speak to men, I had no idea that the Foundry would be a thing, right? That evolved over time. Mm-hmm. So it's not something you write down once and it's set it and forget it. It's an evolving piece, but it's being less about comparing yourself to what you're seeing on social, because that comparison game is a zero-sum equation.
Zero.
There is no winning ever, because there's always going to be a bigger fish. There will always be someone who's further down the road, or appears to be wealthier, or appears to be more successful, or have more followers, or this or that and the other. And if that's what we're basing our sense of joy and pride and self-satisfaction on, we're going to be miserable, right? So again, get clear on what success means for you and start building that. And if you're comparing yourself too much on social media, you might want to unfollow some of those accounts and start following stuff that is going to encourage you. If you're feeling shitty after most scrolling sessions, you probably are following the wrong stuff. Follow stuff that's going to make you feel good. If you use the tool in a way that it's going to encourage you and not have the opposite effect, right?
Yeah, for you.
I think it's just really social media it's different when we were growing up, because we didn't have that. Our kids have it now, and I think it's really choosing where your energy goes, because if your energy is going to things that aren't serving you or that are making you create stories in your mind, it really is up to you to take those steps to be able to unfollow. I purposely unfollowed or muted certain things so that I don't see stuff, because it can become a trap, right? And then you're going down one hole right down to another hole, and at the end of the day, you can only control what you can control. Yeah. So, being really intentional. I think social media is a great tool, but that's all it is a tool.
Yeah, how you use it matters.
Okay, 2 more questions. First one is again around practical steps.
Yeah.
So what is one thing that you would encourage people to adopt, a habit, a behavior, a mindset that would allow them to lean more into success rather than fear it or pull away from it? What would be one thing you would suggest?
Well, I would say stop overthinking the damn thing.
Yeah.
Right? I think we can analyze the shit out of stuff. Listen, I think you do need to ask yourself some good questions. Am I pursuing, let's say you're moving in a direction you want to go in, but you've got all this anxiety about it. Okay, well, is that anxiety because this is new territory for you and you're outside of your comfort zone? That's good anxiety. That can really be channeled to help you grow. But if you're doing that thing, if you're pursuing that thing because of some should, must, and have to, as opposed to something that is born out of a passion of your own heart, and is a vision that you have, just you need to get present to that. If you're doing it for the wrong reasons, maybe you shouldn't be doing it, or you need to reframe why you're doing it. But sometimes it's messy and you can't tell. Or it's a mixture of a bunch of stuff. I'm like, well, stop overthinking it, man. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen here? You're going to put yourself out there. You're going to do something. It may or may not work. And then deal with that once you get there. But stop overanalyzing every step. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get comfortable taking even small risks. And if you take small risks, one little baby step at a time, if it doesn't work out, it's not hard to backtrack and redirect, right? It's not all in. You don't have to be all in on, or go all in on everything. And you're hearing that from me.
Are you taking notes?
I'm taking notes on myself, but I would say stop overthinking it.
Yeah.
Just start putting one foot in front of the other and understand that fear is not or courage is not the absence of fear. I've said on the show before, it's not my saying, I'm going to forget the lady who wrote it, but courage is fear walking, right? Just fear walking. In spite of the fear is going to show up in all kinds of ways in your life. Keep going anyway, right?
Yeah. I think you talked about this, but you need to define what success looks like for you. If you don't even know what it is, you're not going to be able to figure out what's holding you back and you need to be able to define, like we talked about, like my definition has changed so much over the last, 10 years. So what does success look like for you? If you don't know what you're working towards, it's really hard to unpack what you're scared of. So that understand where you're trying to go. And then when that's clear, you can start to unpack a little bit about, oh, okay, interesting, A, B, and C. Then you can start diving into maybe what's holding you back and digging deeper and doing the work. But if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to be able to figure out what that fear is coming from.
Right. And once you know where you're going, it's living on your own terms and making sure that you've got the right circle, because maybe your circle 10 years ago is still your circle, and that's amazing. For some people, that's not the case. And it's about, as you grow with success, depending on what you're doing, you want to have the right people in your circle to be able to support you with that. And it's really about deciding where your time and your energy goes and that fulfillment piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would add, it is surround yourself with the right people, the people that will celebrate and encourage, the people that do send you those notes, save those notes. One of the things I've said to you, right, is create an Apple note where you're just basically copying and pasting all of those positive comments so that you can use that as fuel when you need it.
Love that fuel.
Absolutely. Find those people in the circle. I know that when you first presented the founder to me, right, my heart, my genuine passion was, I love this for you and I'm celebrating this for you, and I articulated that was my message back to you was, brother, you better go for it. Because I encourage, that's what the kind of people you want in your life and in your circle are the people that are going to cheer you on and celebrate, and I encourage people to absolutely do that. Okay, last question is out of the notes. I let you go back on track. It's near the end of our notes, and the question is, you've overcome the fear of success. You are now embracing success. You are celebrating it. What are you going all in on? We opened up the show with being vulnerable about our struggles. Now let's celebrate. What are you leaning into at this season in your life as somebody who is embracing success? Maybe Wendy will start, and then we'll just go around.
Yeah. I think keep adding value to the real life. It's always been a passion of mine, and continuing to serve and to add value to that. And also really focus on growing my 3 studios. I have a huge goal of being one of the top franchise owners in Canada with the value and the experience that we add to people. So that's really for me.
Yeah, mine's similar. It'd be like continuing to grow Bold Lip. We've had some like transition in ownership, and so now growing that and really sort of unapologetically going after what we want and growing that in a specific new direction that we're going. It's pretty exciting. And then I'm so passionate. It's such a huge passion project for me. I want to continue investing in it, and I say unapologetically, but it's also fearlessly. Like just doing it and keep out the noise.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I think I'd start with all in on my relationships. Yeah. So all in with you, all in with my kids.
With me?
Yeah.
Oh. Yay.
No, I mean that though. I mean that. And of course, the Foundry is. I'm scared shitless to do it, but I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And creating a community, I think, that I've craved my entire life, and creating a space for men to be okay not being okay, successful men to grow and find a brotherhood, a band of brothers, where they can be surrounded by like-minded people. So I'm pretty jazzed about it.
Yeah, I'm excited about all of those things. I think it's so nice to be around people who embrace those passions and want to be successful for them. I think for you, very much it's similar. For me, it's to lean in with such authenticity, specifically in my relationship with Wendy, embracing and enjoying the relationships that we have with our girls, having the right people around me. That is just the absolute ultimate for me. I'm excited with the next chapter where Rhapsody is going, and I'm leaning in strong on that, and just really believing that we are in for some amazing days ahead. I think it's really exciting to see all of that.
Living well, loving well, being well, serving well.
There you go.
There's a great
End
framework.
of the day, I think that's something that Harvard Business Journal once said. We want to thank you for being a part of this episode, and I want to encourage you to really lean in on what success is for you. Take some of the practical suggestions, take some of the ideas, and really embrace the idea that you are worthy just as you are, and don't worry about what anybody else is going to say to you. I want to encourage you, one of the great ways to figure out and define success is by taking the Life Vision Challenge. It'll allow you to get really clear on what matters to you, on the rituals that will allow you to lean into those things. Want to encourage you to check that out. You can find all of that information at the livingrichly.me website, including the link to the Facebook group that we mentioned, because we would love for you to join that community and share your thoughts and ideas for upcoming episodes, and you can do all of that there. Thank you again for taking time to listen to or watch this episode. Now get out there and live your best life.